What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Career Mode. This is episode number 15, and guys, settle in because today's episode is a transfer special. Yes, in the last episode we began season 2 at the City Ground with our first three signings of the new era at Nottingham Forest. Sirigu and Fred arriving on free transfers, and Dominic Solanke from recently relegated Bournemouth coming in for a part exchange deal with Sam Surridge as well. So starting today's episode off, it is going to be the rebuild episode today. Yep, we are rebuilding Nottingham Forest in today's episode, and as you look at our squad here, well, there's no doubt about it. It needs to get thinner and it needs to get better. You can see after the swap deal with Sam Surridge, there are still 14 players on our transfer list. Dave Bell, the kid, is on the loan list as well, hoping to loan him out this season. And these guys are all going to go. And then there are some decent players in there that played minutes last season. You know, Harry Toffolo, Will Bolly, for example, Freuler. But this is the rebuild with Nottingham Forest. We are going to totally change and transform this team in one season. So, starting the episode off and starting the transfers off, a rejected bid for Scott McKenna, who literally just signed a new deal from Lyon. Of course, Scott the Block is going nowhere, but Horvath, the American goalkeeper, came back from loan. We accepted a £2.1 million deal there with the Spanish side, Espanyol. Ajeda, who also came back from loan, I'm going to sell him as well. We agreed a £5.5 million deal with Victorious SC here, and Horvath does indeed go to Spain as well. So, one down, 13 more to go. A bid then came in for Harry Toffolo. As you can see, Fulham wanted to take him to Craven Cottage. And Toffolo last season, of course, got some minutes. You know, we saw Reynard Lodi get his loan spell cut short with Atletico Madrid. We loaned out Omar Richards to Bayer Leverkusen. So Toffolo actually became our backup left back for Rodri Brown last year. But 3.3 mil was the deal we agreed as a Jada's deal falls through here, and I'm totally fine letting him go. Richards has come back, he's the better left back, and he's younger, and to me, Toffolo, not good enough for the Premier League in this team, but more than good enough for the second tier. In the final year of his contract, weren't going to get a new deal, we'll take 3.3 mil, and Toffolo goes to Marco Silva's Fulham. So, here we go. This is the big one. Now, we rejected a bid for Taiwo from Athletic Bilbao because he's not Basque as far as I'm aware, but I did not expect this. Yup, didn't have him on the transfer list, wasn't planning to sell him. But Real Valladolid put in a bid for Emmanuel Dennis, and we're going to sell him to Spain for £25 million. Yup, didn't plan to sell him, but big bid from the Spanish side there. And to get 25 mil for Emmanuel Dennis, a guy that only scored one time in the Premier League last year, I will take that money. So because of that fee getting agreed, I thought we know that money's coming in, and I've got enough money for my big first signing of today's episode, and you knew who it was going to be. In the last episode, we picked up Sirigu on a free transfer, but I said he's not going to be our starting goalkeeper this year. 36 years old, he's in as the backup when Wayne Hennessy will leave, and I was always going to bring him back. He had a successful loan spell with us last year as our number one. He said he wanted to return to the City Ground. He doesn't want to be back up for David De Gea. You saw that last year. He was fuming that he never got the chance to show what he's worth as a starting goalkeeper with the Red Devils. Well, here he will be as starting number one for all the years he's at the club. Welcome back to the City Ground, but this time on a permanent deal. Dean Henderson. £21 million was the fee we agreed. It's a 5-year, £60,000 a week deal. And I've got him back at the City Ground, this time for good. Dean Henderson is a Nottingham Forest player for the next 5 seasons. Absolutely buzzing with that. New star player. And, you know, Sirigu came in, and again, he's probably good enough to start in this team, but he's 10 years older than Henderson. He's only going to get worse. And to me, I think Dean could still get a little bit better. He is now 82 rated, and I'm surprised that whilst his development plan does show he's unlikely to grow any more ratings, hopefully he will still surprise me and get another 1 or 2 increase in his overall. Because he's only 26 years old, so the prime years are still ahead of him, really. But Henderson was brilliant last year. Third most amount of clean sheets in the season. He had the worst defence in the division ahead of him, and yet he still bailed me out in multiple games. That Spurs performance when he was man of the match in our first away day victory in North London, where we scraped a 1-0, that will go down in history as one of my most undeserved wins in FIFA ever, but I had Henderson to thank for it. Willy Bolly is gone, 8 mil to Atalanta, and Dennis goes to Valladolid for 25 million as well. And I wasn't planning to sell the Nigerian, but 25 mil for Emmanuel Dennis is a brilliant sale for the former Watford striker. And those two sales combined there for 33 mil now bounce our budget up to around 55 million pounds. So we've now bought in Henderson, Solanke, Sirigu and Fred, and we've got more money than we started off with because of those sales. The rebuild is in full swing at the City ground. So, following that, loan offer for Dave Bell, and it couldn't be a better club. Vincent Kompany's Burnley, yes, Premier League and Manchester City legendary centre-half now in charge at Turf Moor, and he's going to take Dave Bell to Turf Moor on a 2-year loan deal. That's a perfect fit. And Burnley are in the Premier League now after their promotion last season in the game. And after negotiating a bid here for a Jada with Hertha Berlin, I decided to go and make my next big signing. Relegated with Southampton last season. Club, academy, graduate and captain. But far too good for this second tier. You know who it is. I'm a big fan of the guy. James Ward-Prowse. He's not a set-piece merchant. He is a great, industrious young midfielder. Now 28 years old. I say young. Now young by my standards. 28 years old, but for £21 million, JWP wants to keep on getting himself into the England squad when he possibly can outmuscle his competitors. He's not going to be able to do that in the Championship, but here in Nottingham Forest, he'll have the opportunity. £21 million, the fee agreed with Ralph Hasenhüttl, a reluctant sale from the Saints, a reluctant departure from St Mary's for the Saints captain. But he is in. James Ward-Prowse for £21 million, our new playmaker in this team. And I love JWP, man. I really do. I swear I seem to sign him in every single FIFA and every single Football Manager. I'm a big fan of the guy. I really am. Because he's such a hard worker, JWP. And we know how good the guy is when the ball is dead. But he's a great passer of the ball. He's got tremendous vision. And again, I love the trait. Solid player, team player. He's got bags of energy. You know, the guy runs and runs and runs. He's not the quickest. Yes, that is true. But he's a really great, industrious midfielder. A young captain at St Mary's. He came through the academy, but again, relegated with Southampton. He wasn't going to stay in the second tier. He deserves to be in the Premier League. After all the years on the South Coast, he comes to the Midlands, and James Ward-Prowse is in for £21 million. The same fee as Dean Henderson. The board said in our transfer policy, get good value for money deals. Well, those, in my opinion, are two absolute steals right there. So, following that, as you can see, Dave Bell, we negotiated a 2-year loan deal with Vincent Kompany, so he's going to go to Turf Moor. And two interesting bids here for Freuler as well, the Swiss midfielder who came at the start of last season under Steve Cooper, now 31 years old. He broke his toe last season, spent 3 months out of the game, and of course, we're prioritising the younger players here. Whilst we have got a couple more experienced players in Sirigu and Fred, I was always going to sell Freuler for this season. 79 rated now, decreasing in stats when we agreed a £15.5 million deal at Leipzig and 16 mil with Brentford, the Bees as well. So it's Freuler's choice as to where he wants to go. As we had another bid here, this time for Drager, another player that was out on loan last season, but I got no plans to keep. We got Jaden Bogle, we got Nico Williams, and I might try and sign a new right back as well. Drager, 27 years old, 71 overall. I'm totally fine letting the Tunisian go to Racing Club in Argentina for £1.9 million. So Freuler does depart. He goes to Brentford for 16 mil, opted to stay in England as opposed to go to Germany. I quite like that as well. You know, he doesn't want to relocate after just 1 year in England, wants to stay, and goes to London to play for Brentford for 16 mil. And following that, Brennan Johnson, God, this took forever, has finally become a centre forward. Yeah, I started changing his position from right wing to CF at the start of last season because we don't play with wingers, and God, it took forever, but finally he is now a centre forward. And I think I will put him on the pressing forward development plan as well. I'd like to get him a 5-star weak foot, but I like players that work hard out of possession, and with a low defensive work rate, that's the opposite of that. So I want to get it up to high medium at the very least if I can, as Ajayda goes to Hertha Berlin, and Dave Bell has been loaned out to Burnley. Yeah, the kid, 67 rated, but a potential downgrade. Thank you very much, EA. But he'll learn under Vincent Kompany at Turf Moor. He's got a first team squad number. Of all the teams Dave Bell could have gone to, Burnley is literally the perfect place for him. They're back in the Premier League. He'll play at the highest level, and he's under Vincent Kompany, a team that are notoriously known for being a shrewd defensive unit. I like that a lot. I really, really do. So Drager goes to Racing Club as well as the rebuild continues. Jada to Hertha Berlin, Freud to Brentford for 16 mil. Our budget now back up to over £56 million. And yes. During the January transfer window last season, Ivan Toney stunned the world and for some strange reason left Brentford and joined Cadiz, a Spanish team who are currently struggling in La Liga this season. Why, EA? Why would he do that? Come on! He's not going to be in La Liga and battling to avoid the drop to the Segunda Division. He's coming back to England. The shocker, my hero, my mate, Ivan Toney. He's missing England. He's homesick after 6 months in Spain. Cadiz relegated to the Segunda Division. What a waste of time it was moving him out there, EA. I'm bringing him back to where he should be. The Premier League. Ivan Toney. £14 million deal plus Bian Kone, the young French defender who we barely used last season, is all we needed to pay for the relegated Cadiz to bring Ivan Toney back to the Premier League. And if you're a new viewer to my channel, you won't know about my obsession with Ivan Toney, but for those that have been here for a few years, you'll all remember his 40-goal season at Sheffield United, the goals he scored at the Bees for me in my FIFA career mode last year. He is one of my greatest career mode heroes ever, and he is back in my team. 27 years old, 6'2". We know that Toney is such a physical striker. His aerial prowess speaks for itself. He really uses his body and his big frame really, really well. And he's a clinical finisher too. I almost wept tears of joy when he was called up to the England squad for the first time under Gareth Southgate. Unfortunately, didn't get his first senior cap, but I'm sure it's only a matter of time. I'm buzzing that he's here at the City Ground, and again for 14 mil plus Bian Kone, the relegated Cadiz needed to cash in. He's back in England at the City Ground, and I don't know whether he'll start after Taiwo and Brennan's dynamic duo last season, but Ivan Toney as a backup striker, about as good as it can get. So following that, some more bids for McKenna and Taiwo, and also Brennan Johnson wanted by Atalanta. Of course, we turned that down, but we did accept this bid here. Steve Bruce under pressure at West Brom, another loss for them in midweek, of course, dropping into the relegation zone. Now, how much time has Brucey got at the Hawthorns, man? I swear they're going backwards under Steve Bruce, West Brom. But even so, we accepted a £2.7 million deal there with Steve Bruce for Loic Mbessa, a young defender who was loaned out last season to Levante, but in this team just isn't going to get the minutes. And we accepted a bid for Wayne Hennessy of Norwich City as well, so he's going to go to Carrow Road. Of course, we've got in Sirigu this season. We've got the youngster at the academy, James, and Henderson's back on a permanent deal. So Hennessy in the final year of his contract. I'll be totally honest here, if I couldn't sell him, I would have released him, but he's gone to Carrow Road and I'm totally fine with that. But how about this? Following the sales there, Joe Worrell. Hi boss, I'm not one to complain or say I'm unhappy at the club. I'm worried that the transfer window is almost over and we don't know that we've brought in the players we need to strengthen the team. And I was like, really? Henderson? Ward-Prowse? The shocker? Okay, fair enough. Difference of opinions, but you know what? I'll listen to my club captain. We've got 44 million in the budget remaining after those sales there, and Joe was probably thinking, well, last season we had the joint worst defensive record in the division and you've gone and signed 2 new strikers. So, where are the defenders, Doxy boy? Where are the new defenders? I'll tell you what, Joe. I heard what you were saying and I've decided to bring in a recently relegated player with Bournemouth. From Feyenoord to the south coast of England, you know who he is, Marcos Senesi. Dual nationality with Italy and Argentina, but decided to represent the South Americans, and what a steal this is going to be. The board said looks at those good value for money deals. And I've got to say, can I give props to EA for this moment here? Because for 19 mil plus a youngster who you're never going to play, Marcos Senesi is going to go from Bournemouth to Nottingham Forest. EA, I think, have finally realised that when a club is relegated, they won't hold you to ransom for their players, and they will drop the valuation of their players, because if they're on high contracts and drop into the second tier, it's in their best interest to sell them and let them go back to the Premier League if they've got enough quality for the top tier. Exactly what happened for Ward-Prowse, Solanke, and now Marcos as well. Yep, 19 million plus that youngster who we were never going to use in this team. And at 80 rated, 26 years old, he's already got one cap for Argentina. Marcos is in, and I'm buzzing with this signing. Really strong, good jumper. I actually thought Senesi was a little bit taller than this. He's listed as 6. I thought he was 6'1 or 6'2. But, okay, 6 foot, fair enough. But great jumping stats, so it shouldn't really matter too much. But Marcos is in, and Joe then comes to me directly afterwards. I'm glad we had a conversation about transfers, boss. Seems like you agree with what I was saying. I guess you value my opinion. Of course I do. You must skipper. Marcos is in. He might take your place soon, but Marcos is in. Our next signing arrives, and look at this for today's episode here. Well, in terms of sales, to start this window off, we've had the clear out, I promise, 9 sales and Bell leaving on loan, and as for signings as well, I've got to be honest here, I'm liking it. 7 new signings for Nottingham Forest. And whilst I love the youngsters, we needed more experience, we needed more first team quality, and we wanted good value for money deals. We've hit the mark on every single one. I am buzzing with how our team is now looking. It's much stronger than last year. It's got much more quality, and we've still got a bit of money remaining as well. Yep, the new season is going to begin in the very next episodes, because we're rebuilding this Nottingham Forest team. We are not done yet. But that will end today's episode of Career Mode, guys. Massive thank you for watching the rebuild. I really hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then please do drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you for the next episode. Our first Premier League games of Season 2, and yet more signings to come as well very soon.